My brother clinked his glass at our family brunch, smiled at everyone, and told the table I was jobless, divorced, and living off pity. The whole room laughed, but what no one knew, he'd just applied for a job at my company, a company where I sign off on every new hire, including his. Welcome to hell, Mason. I sat in silence, nursing a black coffee at the end of a long walnut table in a chic brunch place my family never missed. Every Sunday, same spot, same roles. I was always the wallpaper, quiet, background noise, unbothered, and ignored. But today, Mason was feeling bold. So, Declan, he started, voice a little too loud. What's it like being semi-retired at 36? Must be nice having zero stress when you don't actually do anything. Chairs creaked, forks paused. My mom looked down at her quiche. He grinned at the reaction, soaking up attention like it was sunlight. I didn't answer. I just swirled the now bitter coffee in my mug and kept my face calm. Mason laughed louder, gesturing to the rest of the table. Guy hasn't had a real job since his app flopped back in 2017. Still living off that pity divorce settlement? His voice dripped sarcasm. That was Mason. Big teeth, louder voice, fake Rolex, leased SUV, and just enough charm to stay employable. He thrived on spotlight, and he always made sure I stayed in the shadows. No one knew the truth. I never told them, because while Mason was on his third job in 5 years, chasing promotions and clout, I was quietly building something behind the scenes, something real. It started after my divorce. I took the settlement, moved to Charleston, and buried myself in code. I didn't go out, didn't post, no LinkedIn, no selfies, just work. Me and my former college roommate, Jalen, started something we called Sablecore, a back-end cloud security firm that serviced fintech startups. Fast forward 6 years. Our platform is now used by over 300 companies. We're a silent powerhouse in cloud protection. Our name's barely mentioned, and that's by design. Sablecore doesn't scream. It listens, it learns, it secures your dirty little secrets. And me? I'm the silent partner. Jalen handles the press, the handshakes, the surface. But every security model, every budget line, every final hire goes through me. Which is why my coffee nearly spilled when Mason, in full swagger mode, announced to the table, I just applied to a security firm based in Charleston, Sable something. They're scaling like crazy. Salaries 6 figures plus stock options. I'm basically a shoo-in. My eyes flicked up for the first time. You applied to Sablecore? I asked, voice calm. He smirked. Yeah, why? You know someone there? I blinked once. You could say that. He leaned back, mistaking my deadpan tone for awkwardness. Yeah, well, they need someone who knows how to actually lead teams, not some reclusive coder with commitment issues. My mom made an uncomfortable noise. My dad asked for more butter. The awkwardness spread like mildew. I let the silence hang. Mason had no idea the resume he sent 2 days ago was already on my screen, that I'd already reviewed it, already seen the typos, the padded numbers, the way he pretended to lead a budget team when in reality he was demoted 6 months ago. What made it even funnier? He'd named me as a personal reference. Jalen had texted me the night before. Bro, your brother just applied. Do I roast him or let you handle it? I replied, let's make it interesting. So I flagged the resume, scheduled an internal review, and didn't reject it. Not yet. Because Mason? He wasn't just walking into a company. He was about to walk straight into a trap, with me behind the mirror watching. I kept my face blank the rest of brunch. He kept running his mouth. They'll be lucky to have me, he bragged, wiping his mouth with a linen napkin. Guys like Declan just don't have that edge. He even threw a wink at my ex-wife, who was sitting 2 seats down with her new fiancé. Yeah, we do brunch together. Long story. By the end of the meal, everyone had forgotten the comment. Laughed it off. Everyone except me. When we left the restaurant, Mason slapped me on the back. Hey, maybe I'll get you an interview there once I'm hired. Wouldn't want my big bro starving. I smiled. Sure, I'll keep an eye on your application. He laughed, walking away. But I didn't. Because back at my office, in a secure internal system only 2 people had access to, was a note tagged on Mason's file. Status. Flagged for executive review. Approver. Declan Reese, co-founder. Let's see how loud he is when he finds out who signs his checks. 3 days later, I watched Mason walk into the Sablecore building like he owned the place. Slate blue button-up, stupid gold chain peeking out, and that same overconfident swagger he'd worn since high school. He scanned the lobby like it was a movie set, and he was the star. Not a clue that everyone behind the glass already knew. The receptionist smiled politely. "Mr. Reese, please head to Conference B on the 3rd floor. You'll be meeting with our senior hiring manager, Marcus." Marcus had instructions. Play it straight. Let him talk. Let him oversell and record everything. I watched it all from my corner office on the 7th floor behind a tinted wall, audio feed in one ear. Mason's voice already filling the room like bad cologne. "Let's be honest," he said to Marcus, legs crossed like a CEO. "You're looking for someone with presence, authority. You don't build culture with spreadsheets. You do it with charisma." Marcus chuckled, polite but unimpressed. "Of course. But we also value integrity, detail, long-game strategy." "Oh, absolutely," Mason grinned. "That's where I shine. Ask anyone. My last company relied on me to turn things around. Budgets, hiring, everything. Except his turnaround led to a $280K deficit and mass layoffs. He just didn't. No, we'd already checked. We'd spoken to 2 of his old teammates, and we had the receipts, but I wasn't trying to destroy him. Not yet." After the interview, Jalen called me. "He's exactly what I expected. Smooth talker, zero depth, but..." "But?" I asked. "He's charming. Too charming. And some of the staff think he's fun. If we don't block this now, he could weasel his way in." I sighed. "Then let him in." Jalen paused. "You're serious?" "Completely. Dude, this isn't a game. He'll wreck the place." "That's the point," I said quietly. "I want him to think he's winning." By Friday, HR sent the offer. Junior operations strategist. Decent salary. Enough to feed his ego, but low enough to insult it if he looked too close. Stock options? Minimal. But he wouldn't read the fine print. He never did. He accepted within 20 minutes. That night, he texted me. "Guess who just got hired at your little hometown company? Big things coming, bro. Maybe I'll be signing your check soon." I nearly choked on my drink. The irony. The absolute idiocy. By the time Monday rolled around, Mason was strutting through our halls like a king. He took loud calls in the shared workspace. He cracked jokes in meetings that didn't need jokes. He flirted with the intern coordinator who later reported him for grossly inappropriate confidence. But I stayed out of sight. Always one floor above, always watching. Because Mason wasn't just here to prove himself. He was here to expose himself. On his 2nd week, he tried to take credit for a marketing strategy he didn't touch, said it was his idea in front of the entire team. Jalen let him. On week 3, he skipped 2 budget meetings but sent a late night email full of buzzwords and bullet points, none of which made sense. Still, he got praised by one of the senior execs who loved confidence more than competence. I was patient, and then it happened. At the end of week 4, Mason got cocky. Too cocky. He barged into a board meeting uninvited, handed out copies of a proposal, and said, "I believe we're leaving money on the table. I've identified inefficiencies that could be cut by 17%. Everyone stared. Awkward silence. Because the numbers on his proposal? They came from a restricted file, one only a senior manager should have accessed. Security flagged the breach. IT sent the alert. He'd guessed a login. Mine, I called Jalen. "It's time." We set up a meeting. Friday, noon, conference room. D. Mason arrived early, cocky as ever. Wore a burgundy blazer like he was about to get promoted. I walked in 10 minutes late. He froze. "Declan?" He blinked. "You work here?" I smiled. "Nice blazer. You wear that for your termination interview?" He laughed nervously. "Wait, what? Termination?" I dropped a folder on the table. "You accessed restricted files, falsified reports, lied in meetings, violated your NDA. His face changed color. Okay, hold on. I didn't know it was restricted. It's all internal." "Doesn't matter," I cut in. "You guessed my credentials. That's a felony in some states." "But we're brothers," he said, laughing without any humor now. "No," I said, standing up. "You're a walking headline waiting to happen. And you're lucky I'm not pressing charges." He stood too, eyes wild. "You're lying. You're not my boss." I leaned in, locked eyes, and said the words I'd waited years to say. "I'm your employer." Silence. Dead. Silence. Then Mason did something I didn't expect. Something that actually hit. He didn't rage. He didn't argue. He cried. He dropped back into the chair, face in hands, and sobbed. I didn't know. I thought, you were a failure, man. I thought I was finally ahead. I wanted to scream. I wanted to laugh, but mostly, I felt tired, so I left. And for once, Mason didn't follow. The story should have ended in that conference room, but Mason never knew when to stop. I'd given him a quiet exit, a chance to leave with some dignity. Instead, he chose chaos. The following Monday, I was back at my desk, headphones on, finishing a pitch deck, when Jalen burst into my office holding his phone like it was on fire. "You need to see this," he snapped. He flipped the screen toward me, a LinkedIn post. Mason's face. Big, cheesy grin. Text above it. "Fired by my own brother. A coward in a hoodie who runs a company from the shadows. Our nepotism. Toxic tech. Expose them." Below that, 400 comments. Some supportive, most confused. A few enraged. Jalen hissed. "He named you, tagged the company, now everyone knows." My stomach dropped. For 6 years, I built Sablecore from behind the curtain. I turned down interviews, avoided panels, refused press. My privacy was everything, and Mason had just detonated it with a single swipe. Calls started pouring in. First, HR, then legal, then the board. I took them all, calmly, explained the situation, told them everything was documented. His violations, the security breach, even the internal witness statements. They were on my side. But that didn't mean the fallout wouldn't hurt, because now, the world was watching. Within 24 hours, 3 tech blogs picked up the story. The headlines were brutal. When family turns corporate, CEO fires brother in security scandal. Shadow founder no more, Declan Reese steps into spotlight. Startup drama, Sablecore's quiet co-founder. Speaks, I didn't speak, but they published it anyway. I couldn't focus, couldn't sleep. My inbox was a war zone. At midnight, I stared out my condo window at the Charleston harbor, lights flickering like they were taunting me. Then came the voicemail. My mother. "Declan, what the hell happened? Mason's devastated. He says you humiliated him publicly. Why didn't you tell us you even worked there?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because the truth was, I didn't owe them anything, not after years of being the family ghost. The next morning, I walked into Sablecore for the first time in daylight. No hoodie, no headphones, just a dark, tailored suit and silence. People stared, some whispered, others smiled. They knew. And then I did something I never thought I would. I stepped into the weekly staff briefing. The big one. All hands. I stood next to Jalen at the front, took a deep breath, and spoke. "I'm Declan Reese, co-founder, chief systems architect, and apparently the villain in someone else's story." Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. I've spent 6 years in the background because I didn't care about titles. I cared about building, about protecting, about trust. Now it was quiet. Completely. I didn't fire my brother because of a family issue. I fired him because he violated that trust, because he broke protocol, accessed confidential files, and lied. I looked around the room, at engineers, analysts, interns, who had only ever heard my name on paperwork. Some of you may feel caught in the middle. That's fair. But know this. No one is above the rules here, not even blood. Applause. Short, but honest. When I walked off stage, I felt something shift, no more hiding. That afternoon, I got a text from Mason. "You humiliated me, ruined my career. I was your brother." I didn't reply. But he wasn't done. That evening, he showed up at my building, buzzed the door 12 times before the concierge called me. I told them to send him away. 10 minutes later, I got another text. "They're all turning on me. My fiancé left. Said I'm a liar. I have nothing left." Still, I didn't reply. Because I'd given him enough second chances to last a lifetime. He chose to bury himself. I just handed him the shovel. I thought cutting Mason off would be the end of it. But snakes don't die from one clean slice. They coil, wait, and strike when you're looking away. It started with a phone call from my mother. Not yelling, not crying, sweet, calm, deceptively. Polite. "Declan, honey, we're having dinner next Friday. Just the family. Your father's grilling. Nothing serious. Please come." I hesitated. Every bone in my body screamed no, but I owed them something. A final explanation. A goodbye, maybe. So I went. Their house hadn't changed in 20 years. Same chipped white fence, same wind chimes clinking like ghosts above the porch. Inside, the smell of rosemary and guilt hit me in the face. Mason was already there, wearing a navy sweater like he hadn't blown up my life 2 weeks earlier. He looked up from his drink, eyes glassy. "Hey," that's all he said. I didn't answer. Just nodded to my dad, who gave me an awkward half hug and said something about football. Dinner was quiet, too quiet. Until dessert. That's when Mom cleared her throat and dropped the bomb. "We were hoping," she said slowly, "that you could reconsider what happened. Mason's been through a lot. He's lost everything, and this company means the world to him." I froze, fork midair. "Reconsider? You're asking me to hire him back?" I asked, voice flat. Mom winced. "Not hire. Just help. Maybe a consultant role. Behind the scenes. He swore he'd follow every rule." Mason stared at the table like a shamed puppy. I looked at my dad. He said nothing, just sipped his coffee like a coward. Unreal. I laughed. Actually laughed. "Let me get this straight," I said. "He leaks confidential data, lies to your faces, publicly drags me through mud, and I need to fix it?" My mom looked hurt. "Declan, he's your brother." "No," I snapped. "He's your favorite." The silence that followed was colder than any server room I'd ever sat in, and that's when Mason spoke. "I made a mistake," he said softly. "But I was scared. You were always better than me. I couldn't stand it. I thought if I exposed you, maybe I'd finally win something." He looked up, "But all I did was burn it down." For a split second, I saw something real in his face. Regret? Maybe. But then he ruined it. Still, if you hadn't hidden your success, none of this would have happened. You made me feel like you didn't trust me. My hands clenched. "You're right," I said. "I didn't." I stood up. "Don't call me again, any of you. If this is what family means, I'd rather be an orphan." And I walked out. Thought that was the end? It wasn't. 3 days later, I got a call from our legal counsel. "You're going to want to sit down," she said. Mason had filed a wrongful termination complaint. Filed it publicly, claimed I'd engineered a hostile work environment, and that my personal bias led to an unlawful firing of a qualified employee. He wanted damages, $500,000. I laughed. "He doesn't have a case." "True," she said, "but he has a following." Turns out Mason had started a podcast, Corporate Confessions, gained traction, painted himself as the victim of nepotism and tech elitism, played the role of underdog crushed by a vindictive genius brother. People ate it up, especially the angry startup crowd that hated tech billionaires, even though I wasn't one. Yet, our PR team begged me to make a statement. I refused, because if there's one thing you never do with a narcissist, it's play the same game. But then came the real betrayal. Someone inside Sablecore leaked documents, not damaging ones, but internal emails, Slack messages, payroll snippets that hinted at tension between us, enough to muddy the waters. It hit the EI. News within hours, and in one clip, Mason held up a printout of my email. "He's dangerous in a position of trust. His ego is a liability." Declan Reese, they played it on loop, soundbite. Headline, #Brother V's brother. Shadow CEO. Sure Sable wore it, trended for 2 days. Investors called. Clients panicked. One contract, worth 2.4 million froze. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling and replayed everything. Every choice. Every silence, every stupid chance I gave him. And then I realized the leak had to come from someone close, someone with clearance, someone I trusted. And there were only 4 of those. 3 of them had worked with me since day one. One had joined 6 months. A junior coordinator from our expansion project in Raleigh, recommended by Mason. By morning, I had names. 4 people with internal clearance to the email system. 3 were loyal. Day one warriors. I'd been in their weddings, held their newborns. The 4th, Kendra Mallory, junior project coordinator, transferred from Raleigh. New, quiet, always polite. No real reason to suspect her until I saw the recommendation letter, signed by Mason. I pulled her file. Interned at his old firm. 0 red flags, great reviews. But something about the way she appeared right before, the blow-up didn't sit right, and then I found it. Metadata from the leak. 1 document. Downloaded at 1:24 a.m. from her login. Case closed. Now I had proof, but no plan. I could have fired her on the spot. Called in HR, slammed her with legal consequences, but that wasn't enough. Not anymore. I didn't just want them gone, I wanted them exposed, so I got to work. First, I called Jalen, brought him into the loop. "You're going full scorched earth, huh?" he asked. "I'm tired of playing chess with snakes," I said. "Time to drop a hammer." We started setting traps. Not illegal, not dirty, just strategic. Step 1. Assign Kendra to a fake project. a decoy ops proposal filled with intentional inconsistencies, one line item misaligned, one NDA clause purposefully vague. We waited. 3 days later, screenshots of the proposal appeared in a private Discord group tied to a tech gossip account. Caption: Sablecore's leadership doesn't even understand their own financials. Bingo. Now, we had a double leak. Kendra was sloppy. She didn't just forward internal documents. She'd joined a private channel of industry malcontents, thinking no one would ever trace it. We traced it. I sent the IP logs to legal, but I still didn't act. I needed one last move. So I invited Kendra to a one-on-one. She walked into my office, smiling, clipboard in hand, totally unaware she was standing on a trap door. "Mr. Reese," she said sweetly. "Wasn't expecting this." I gestured to the seat. "You've been doing great work," I said flatly. "There's something I want to discuss." Her eyes lit up. Promotion. That's what she thought this was. I opened a folder, pulled out printouts. "You recognize these?" She glanced, froze. The Discord messages, the leaks. Her face cracked in real time, eyes darting, throat dry. I don't know where you got. I built Sablecore from nothing, I cut in. From scratch. In a garage with no AC and a laptop missing 3 keys. She swallowed hard. "And you? Someone who's been here less than 6 months? Thought you'd help Mason finish what he started?" She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. "Don't. There's no speech that'll fix this." I stood, walked to the window, looked out at the city I helped secure with firewalls and patience. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "You're going to resign, today, right now. Then, you're going to sign this document saying you acted alone. No external influence. No one put you up to it," she stammered. "You can't make me—" "I can make sure every company you apply to sees this file." Her breath caught. "You think Mason's podcast will save you?" I added. "He's been ghosted by 2 sponsors. And by the way, his wrongful termination case? It's about to get buried." I tossed the resignation form on the desk. She signed, without a word, walked out of my office without her clipboard, without her pride. I waited 10 minutes. Then I called my lawyer, released the statement. That night, Sablecore issued a public response. An internal investigation has revealed unauthorized leaks by a recently terminated employee. We have taken legal action and reaffirm our commitment to transparency, security, and integrity. The post ended with my name, Declan Reese, co-founder and CTO. My first public statement, ever. It went viral. Comments poured in. Finally hearing from the silent genius. "This is how you handle betrayal, classy and brutal." Bro's been playing 4D chess the whole time. Even industry blogs flipped. The narrative shifted. Mason's podcast tanked. Sponsors pulled out. His followers turned on him, accusing him of manipulating the truth and exploiting family drama for clicks. But that wasn't the part that hit hardest. The part that hit was my father. He showed up at my office, unannounced. Gray suit. Same tired eyes I remembered from childhood, always focused on something. That wasn't me. He stood in my doorway and said, "Declan, can we talk?" I didn't answer. He stepped in anyway. "I didn't know how deep it went," he said. "About Mason. About everything. I just thought, maybe you were both in the wrong." I stared at him. "You thought I torched my own company out of spite?" He looked down. "I thought you were the one hiding." I stood up, walked around the desk, looked him in the eye. "I didn't hide," I said. "I protected myself, this company, my name." He nodded. But I didn't forgive him. Not yet. As he left, he turned and added one thing. "I'm proud of you, son. I just wish I'd said that sooner." I didn't reply, because some apologies come too late. 2 months passed. The headlines faded. Mason vanished from the algorithm. Kendra's NDA held firm. Sablecore's stock rebounded. And I started breathing again. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Not famous, not flashy, just visible, and... Then came the call, an invitation. Tech Frontiers International, Miami main stage, a keynote speaker slot. Behind the firewall, building in the shadows. I laughed when I read it. The irony was thick, but I accepted. Jalen clapped me on the back. "Hell yeah, time to let the world meet the guy behind the mask." So I stepped into the light. 3 weeks later, I walked onto a stage under gold and blue lights in front of 3,000 tech leaders, media, and investors. I wore black. No slides. No branding. Just me and the truth. Most people think power looks like noise, I began. Like shouting the loudest, posting the most, holding the mic. I paused. But I built something worth $87 million in silence. People leaned in. And when I finally made noise, it wasn't for fame, it was for survival. I told them the whole story, not the drama, not the gossip, the quiet parts, the late nights, the betrayal. The moment I realized protecting your dream sometimes means walking away from people you love because they'd rather set it on fire than let you have it. When I walked off stage, they stood. A standing ovation. Reporters rushed the hallway. PR agents begged for interviews. A venture firm rep handed me a black envelope with one word printed in silver, Phoenix. Inside, an offer to lead a nationwide cybersecurity initiative. But none of that matched what happened the next day. I was at the airport, boarding gate, flight home. And there he was, Mason, standing alone. Same hoodie I last saw him in, dark circles under his eyes, holding a cracked phone and a flyer for some digital branding workshop. He saw me, froze. For a second, we just stared. Then he walked over. "Declan," he said, voice low. I didn't speak. "I'm not here to start anything," he added quickly. I wanted to say something." He pulled out a paper. I glanced. "A letter? No, a resume. This place in Tampa?" he muttered. "They want a reference. They don't know about the podcast stuff yet." I raised an eyebrow. "You want me to lie for you?" He swallowed. "No, I want a chance. I want to start over." I stared at him. This man who'd lit matches under my name. Watched it burn, and then cried when the smoke reached him. I took the paper, read it once, then I tore it in half. His face crumbled. "You think I'm heartless," I said quietly. "But this is mercy." He opened his mouth, but I cut him off. "Because if I really wanted to ruin you, I'd make sure every recruiter in America got a copy of your leaked messages. I'd make your name synonymous with sabotage." He stood, there. Hollow, ashamed, small. "Do yourself a favor," I said. "Stop trying to climb ladders you didn't build." I turned to walk away, and for once, he didn't follow. On the flight home, I watched the city disappear beneath the clouds, and I realized something. The silence I'd built my life in, it wasn't hiding. It was peace. But now I had a voice, and I wasn't afraid to use it. When I got back to Charleston, I walked into Sable Corps HQ the next morning. There was a plaque by the lobby door I'd never noticed before. Bronze, elegant, founded, by Jalen Shaw and Declan Reese, for the builders who don't shout. I smiled, because now the world knew. And Mason, he could keep screaming. But no one was listening anymore. And here it is, the finale of today's story. Did everything turn out as you imagined, or did it end unexpectedly? I'd love to hear what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and let's dive into the discussion together. If this story kept you in suspense, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? This is your chance to join an incredible community where exciting new stories unfold every day. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date. Thanks for your attention and see you on your new adventures.